They said Apache girl was too wild. Lonely rancher just gave her a horse and watched her ride. The desert planet of Red Mesa stretched wide under twin suns that painted the sky in deep orange and gold. Dust moved slowly across the land like waves in a silent ocean. Canyons cut through the surface like old scars, and wind sang through broken rock formations that had stood there long before humans arrived. Most settlers avoided the deeper regions of the planet because of strong radiation storms and shifting sands, but Elias Kane had chosen this place as his home. Elias was a rancher who lived alone on the edge of a small frontier settlement. His ranch was not traditional like those from older stories. Instead of regular cattle, he raised bioengineered animals designed to survive harsh climates. These creatures were strong, intelligent, and able to adapt to the planet's strange gravity and unpredictable weather. Elias spent his days repairing fences made of energy lines, maintaining solar panels, and guiding his herd through safe routes across the desert. People in the nearby town knew him as quiet and reliable. He spoke little and kept mostly to himself. Years ago, he had been a skilled pilot who traveled between star systems, but something had changed him. No one knew the full story, only that he arrived on Red Mesa alone and never left again. Some thought he was hiding from his past, while others believed he simply wanted peace. One morning, while Elias repaired a broken drone near the ranch gate, he noticed a figure walking along the dusty road leading toward town. The person moved with confidence despite the heat and heavy wind. As she came closer, he saw she was young but carried herself like someone who had seen many worlds. Her dark hair moved freely with the wind, and her clothing combined traditional tribal patterns with modern survival gear. The townspeople later called her the Apache girl, though her real name was Tala. She belonged to a nomadic tribe that followed ancient Apache traditions mixed with spacefaring knowledge. Her people traveled between planets, refusing to settle permanently under corporate rules. They believed in balance with nature, even when living among advanced technology. When Tala entered the town, she drew attention immediately. Some people stared with curiosity, others with distrust. Frontier worlds were used to travelers, but nomadic tribes were often misunderstood. Rumors began quickly. Some said she was too wild, too independent. Others claimed her tribe rejected laws and caused trouble wherever they went. Elias did not pay much attention at first. He focused on his work, guiding a herd through a canyon path when sudden shouting from town reached him through his comm device. He ignored it until later that evening when he rode into town to collect supplies. The atmosphere felt tense. Groups of settlers stood near the main street, talking in low voices. He noticed Tala standing near a cargo enclosure where a large transport beast struggled against its restraints. The animal was frightened, its breathing heavy, and eyes wide with panic. Several workers tried to calm it using electric tools, but their approach only made things worse. Tala stepped forward slowly, raising one hand gently. She spoke softly in a language Elias did not recognize. Her voice was calm and steady. Instead of forcing control, she waited patiently. The animal gradually slowed its movements, its breathing becoming quieter. Within moments, the tension disappeared. Elias watched carefully. He had spent years around animals, and he understood how rare that kind of connection was. She did not dominate the creature, she listened to it. Some settlers muttered that she was strange. Others seemed impressed, but refused to show it openly. Tala finished helping the workers and turned away without expecting thanks. She walked alone toward the edge of town, as if used to being an outsider. Later that night, Elias overheard a group discussing her. They believed she would bring trouble and suggested asking her to leave before corporations noticed unusual activity. Frontier settlements often feared drawing attention from powerful organizations that could claim land without warning. Elias felt something shift inside him. He recognized loneliness when he saw it. Without thinking too much, he approached Tala the next morning while she stood near a water station. He offered her simple work at his ranch. He did not ask many questions or demand explanations. His offer was direct: food, shelter, and honest work if she wanted it. Tala studied him carefully. Her eyes showed both caution and curiosity. She refused at first. Pride kept her distant. She said she did not need help. Elias nodded and left without argument. Days passed, but Tala stayed near the ranch area instead of leaving the planet. She watched from a distance as Elias worked. Sometimes she helped quietly without being asked, repairing small tools or guiding stray animals back towards safe paths. Slowly, a silent understanding formed between them. One evening, a sudden dust storm approached faster than expected. Winds grew strong enough to knock over equipment. Elias struggled to secure the herd before visibility disappeared. Without warning, Tala appeared riding a borrowed hover bike, helping guide animals into shelter. Her movements were precise, almost instinctive. After the storm passed, Elias thanked her. This time she did not walk away immediately. Instead, she accepted his invitation to stay temporarily at the ranch. She slept in a small guest cabin and spent the next few days working alongside him. Their communication was simple and honest. Tala spoke little about her past, but showed deep respect for the land. She noticed details others ignored. Changes in wind direction, subtle animal behavior, hidden water sources beneath sand layers. Elias realized her skills came from generations of survival knowledge. One afternoon, while repairing the storage barn, Elias decided to show her something special. Inside a shaded enclosure stood a starbred horse, a rare creature with strong muscles and glowing eyes adapted for low-gravity environments. The horse had once belonged to Elias's former partner and had refused every rider since. Elias opened the gate and handed Tala the reins without explanation. The gesture surprised her. She hesitated, unsure of his intention. He simply stepped back, allowing her to choose. The horse reacted cautiously at first, sensing her strong energy. Tala approached slowly, breathing evenly. She placed her hand gently on its neck, closing her eyes as if listening to its heartbeat. The animal relaxed gradually. When she mounted, the ranch seemed to pause. She guided the horse forward carefully, respecting its pace. Then she rode across the dunes under the twin suns, her silhouette moving smoothly against the glowing horizon. Elias watched quietly. For the first time in years, he felt something change inside him. Not sadness, not regret, but hope. He realized he had not just offered her work or shelter. He had offered trust. As Tala returned, dust trailing behind her, a small smile appeared on her face. It was the first time he had seen her truly relaxed. The horse lowered its head gently beside her, accepting her as its rider. In that moment, the lonely ranch felt different. The silence no longer felt empty. Something new had begun, though neither of them fully understood where it would lead. The mornings on Red Mesa began quietly, but after Tala arrived, the ranch seemed to wake with new energy. The twin suns rose slowly over the horizon, painting the land with soft gold and deep red colors. Elias noticed small changes in daily routines. Tasks that once felt heavy now moved faster. The animals responded differently, calmer and more aware, as if they sensed a new balance in their environment. Tala worked without needing instructions. She observed everything first: how Elias repaired fences, how he checked wind patterns before guiding the herd, and how he moved slowly around nervous animals. She added her own methods, using small signals and soft sounds that helped the creatures feel safe. Elias did not question her techniques. He simply watched and learned. The starbred horse quickly became her closest companion on the ranch. Every morning she rode across the dunes, exploring areas Elias rarely visited. She studied the land carefully, marking safe routes and noting changes in terrain caused by shifting sandstorms. When she returned, she shared only important details, speaking briefly but clearly. Their conversations remained simple. They spoke while working rather than sitting down for long talks. Tala respected silence, and Elias understood it well. Slowly, trust grew between them without effort. The sky was full of stars, brighter than anywhere Elias had seen during his years traveling through space. Tala watched the sky carefully, as if reading hidden stories written between constellations. She finally spoke more about her past. Her tribe traveled between frontier planets, following ancient star maps passed down through generations. They believed that every world had a spirit, and that people must learn from the land rather than control it. Tala had always felt different from others in her tribe. She questioned traditions and pushed boundaries, which caused conflict with elders who valued stability over change. Elias listened without interrupting. He understood what it meant to feel like an outsider. After a moment, he shared part of his own past, how he once piloted cargo ships across dangerous routes, believing speed and technology could solve any problem. But one mission went wrong. A mechanical failure and a sudden storm caused him to lose his crew. Since then, he avoided space travel, choosing the quiet life of a rancher instead. The fire crackled between them as silence returned, but this time it felt comfortable. Days passed peacefully until strange lights appeared in the sky one afternoon. Tala noticed them first while riding along the canyon edge. Small metallic drones hovered high above, scanning the land with blue beams that moved slowly across the desert. She returned quickly to warn Elias. He frowned when he saw the drones through his binoculars. Corporate scouts often arrived before larger operations. Red Mesa had once been a mining world, and many feared that powerful companies would return to claim the planet again. News spread quickly through nearby settlements. Some ranchers gathered in town to discuss what to do. Many felt powerless. Corporate contracts and legal documents were difficult to challenge, especially for small frontier communities. Tala observed quietly during the meeting. She noticed how fear shaped people's decisions. Some suggested selling their land and leaving before conflict began. Others wanted to hide and hope the corporations ignored them. After the meeting, Tala and Elias walked back toward the ranch together. She asked him why people were willing to give up their homes so easily. Elias explained that corporations controlled resources, technology, and legal authority. Fighting them directly could be dangerous. Tala shook her head slightly. She believed there were other ways. Her tribe survived by adapting, not surrendering. The next day, a corporate survey team arrived in town. Their ships were sleek and polished, standing in sharp contrast to the rugged frontier equipment used by settlers. Representatives wore clean uniforms and spoke politely, but their presence created tension. They claimed to have legal rights to survey Red Mesa for new mining opportunities. They promised economic growth and advanced infrastructure. Some settlers listened with interest, but others remained suspicious. Tala noticed something unusual about the equipment. The drones were not simple survey machines. They carried hidden weapon systems disguised beneath civilian design. She shared her observation with Elias, who felt uneasy but unsure how to respond. Life on the ranch continued, but the peaceful rhythm changed. Tala spent more time scouting the land, mapping hidden paths through canyons and dunes. Elias prepared for possible relocation even though he did not want to leave. He secured supplies and checked his old spacecraft, which had remained unused for years. Their bond deepened during this uncertain time. They trusted each other's instincts without needing long explanations. One afternoon, while repairing a broken water system, Tala asked why he had offered her the horse on the first day. Elias paused before answering. He said he believed people needed trust more than control. The horse had once trusted someone deeply, and he felt Tala deserved that same chance. She listened quietly, then nodded with understanding. As corporate activity increased, strange machines began digging test sites across the desert. Wildlife reacted strongly, moving away from disturbed areas. Tala felt anger but kept it controlled. She guided the ranch animals farther from danger zones, showing patience even when frustration grew. One evening, a sudden explosion from a distant mining test echoed across the land. The sound frightened the herd, causing several animals to break through energy fences. Tala reacted instantly, jumping onto the starbred horse and racing across the dunes. Elias followed closely. Together they guided the animals back safely, working in perfect coordination without speaking. When the crisis ended, both felt the weight of what was coming. The corporation was not just surveying, they were preparing for large-scale operations. That night they sat outside again, watching the sky filled with moving lights from corporate ships. Tala spoke softly about balance, how taking too much from a planet without respect always caused suffering. Elias agreed, though he wondered whether they could truly change what powerful organizations decided. Despite uncertainty, something inside him felt stronger than before. Tala's presence reminded him that courage could take many forms. She did not rush into conflict blindly. She studied, planned, and waited for the right moment. As days passed, other ranchers began visiting Elias's property more often. They sought advice and shared concerns. Some were curious about Tala, noticing her calm strength and leadership without loud words. Slowly, opinions about her changed. The girl once called too wild was now seen as someone who understood the land better than anyone else. Standing on a hill one evening, Tala watched the sun disappear behind distant mountains. The starbred horse stood quietly beside her. Elias joined her, both of them looking toward the horizon where corporate ships hovered like distant shadows. Neither spoke for a long time. They both understood that peaceful days were ending, and that the future of Red Mesa would soon be decided. But instead of fear, there was determination. The ranch was no longer just a place of isolation. It had become something worth protecting, and together they were ready to face whatever came next. The desert of Red Mesa changed quickly after the corporate machines began their work. Deep tracks cut across the land where heavy vehicles moved day and night. Dust clouds rose constantly, turning the sky pale and hiding the stars earlier than usual. The quiet rhythm that once defined the ranch faded, replaced by distant mechanical sounds that never fully stopped. Elias woke earlier each morning, checking the herd carefully. The animals sensed tension and reacted more easily to sudden noises. Tala helped guide them to safer grazing areas farther from the mining zones. She rode the starbred horse with calm focus, her movements smooth and confident. Watching her, Elias realized she had fully become part of the ranch, not just a visitor. Word spread that more corporate ships were arriving. The town felt different now. People spoke in worried tones, and small arguments broke out between those who wanted to resist and those who preferred to accept corporate offers. Some settlers believed the company's promises of new jobs and better technology. Others feared losing everything they had built. Tala listened carefully during community gatherings, but rarely spoke loudly. She watched people instead, understanding their fears and hopes. When she finally shared her thoughts, she spoke simply. She said the land was not only a resource, it was a living system that supported everyone. If they allowed uncontrolled mining, the planet's balance would change, and future generations might not have a home at all. Some agreed with her, while others remained unsure. Elias noticed how naturally people began to look toward her for guidance. The girl once called too wild was slowly becoming a quiet leader. One afternoon, while riding along a canyon path, Tala spotted a herd of wild desert runners moving erratically. These fast creatures normally traveled in stable groups, but now they scattered in confusion. She followed their path and discovered a new mining site, where automated drills created loud vibrations beneath the ground. The machines were larger than expected. Energy beams cut into the canyon walls, searching for rare minerals hidden deep below. Tala felt anger rising, but forced herself to stay calm. She knew reacting without a plan could make things worse. She returned to the ranch and explained what she saw. Elias listened carefully. He had worked with corporations before and knew they rarely changed plans once operations began. Still, he believed there must be a way to protect their home without creating open conflict. Together, they visited nearby ranchers, sharing information and building trust. Instead of forming a group based on fear, they encouraged cooperation. Some settlers contributed technical skills, while others offered knowledge of hidden terrain routes. Slowly, a network formed. Not an army, but a community, ready to defend their way of life. Meanwhile, corporate representatives continued visiting the town. They presented contracts offering relocation packages and financial compensation. A few families accepted, preparing to leave before operations expanded further. Each departure felt like a loss to those who stayed behind. Tala struggled with these changes. She respected personal choice, but worried that fear pushed people away from their connection to the land. One evening, she asked Elias why some people preferred to leave rather than fight for their home.
He answered honestly.
Not everyone wanted conflict. Some valued safety more than resistance. Tala nodded, understanding but still feeling sadness. The turning point came during a violent mining test. A powerful explosion echoed across the desert, stronger than anything before. The ground shook and a shockwave reached the ranch, frightening the herd. Several animals broke through the fence and ran toward dangerous terrain. Without hesitation, Tala mounted the starbred horse and raced after them. Elias followed closely on another mount. Dust filled the air as they guided the herd away from cliffs and unstable ground. Tala's connection with the animals showed clearly. She moved with confidence, using voice and movement to lead rather than force. Other ranchers arrived to help, and together they brought the animals back safely. The event strengthened trust between Tala and the community. People saw her not as an outsider, but as someone deeply connected to the land and willing to protect it. Later that night, a group gathered at Elias's ranch to discuss what to do next. Tala suggested avoiding direct confrontation. Instead, they could use their knowledge of terrain and environment to slow corporate progress without causing harm. Her idea focused on protecting life rather than fighting against people. They began small actions. Ranchers guided wildlife away from mining areas, creating natural obstacles that forced machines to pause. Technically skilled settlers disrupted non-essential drone signals without damaging equipment. Each step was careful, avoiding anything that could lead to violent retaliation. The corporation responded by increasing surveillance. More drones appeared in the sky, watching every movement. Tala remained calm, adapting their strategies while encouraging patience. She believed true strength came from understanding rather than aggression. During this time, Elias noticed changes in himself. The loneliness that once defined him faded completely. Working alongside Tala in the community gave him purpose again. He even began repairing his old spacecraft, not for escape, but as a potential tool to help their cause if needed. One evening while watching the sunset, Tala admitted she no longer felt like she was running from her past. The ranch gave her something she had not expected, belonging without losing freedom. Elias smiled quietly, understanding that her presence had changed his life just as deeply. As corporate operations expanded, rumors spread that enforcement drones might soon be deployed to ensure full control. Fear returned to the town, but this time it did not lead to silence. People gathered together, sharing ideas and strengthening connections. Tala stood at the center of these discussions, not as a commander, but as a guide. She reminded everyone that unity was their greatest strength. Instead of acting as isolated individuals, they became a community with shared purpose. One morning, while riding across the dunes, Elias watched Tala from a distance. The starbred horse moved gracefully beneath her, and the wind carried her hair like a banner of freedom. He realized that giving her the horse had started something much larger than he imagined. It had given her a way to express her true self, and it had given the community hope. But even as hope grew, danger moved closer. Corporate ships increased their presence, casting long shadows across the desert. The future of Red Mesa hung in balance, and everyone knew that the next steps would decide whether their home survived. Standing together at the edge of the ranch, Tala and Elias looked toward the horizon where machines worked tirelessly. Neither spoke, but both felt the same determination. They were no longer alone, and whatever came next, they would face it together with courage and patience. The desert of Red Mesa felt heavier than ever as corporate ships filled the sky. Their bright lights moved slowly above the dunes, like silent watchers, reminding everyone that change was coming whether they were ready or not. The ranch remained active, but tension lived in every moment. Elias woke each morning with a strong sense that something important was approaching. Tala continued riding across the land, observing patterns others could not see. She studied how machines moved, how drones followed specific routes, and how corporate teams avoided certain canyon areas because of unstable terrain. Instead of reacting with anger, she focused on understanding their strategy. She believed that knowledge could become a stronger weapon than force. The community gathered more often at Elias's ranch. Ranchers, traders, and travelers sat together under the open sky, sharing food and plans. Some were still afraid, but Tala encouraged calm thinking. She reminded them that their goal was not to destroy anyone, but to protect their home. One evening, a scout arrived with urgent news. Corporate leaders planned to begin large-scale extraction within days. Once that started, stopping it would be nearly impossible. Silence fell over the group as everyone realized time was running out. Elias felt old memories returning. Moments when he had faced danger during his years as a pilot. He had spent so long avoiding responsibility that he forgot how it felt to stand for something bigger than himself. Looking at Tala, he saw determination without fear, and it gave him strength. Together they decided on a new approach. Instead of fighting machines directly, they would expose the corporation's hidden actions to the wider galaxy. Tala had noticed signs that the company ignored environmental safety laws. If they could gather proof and send it beyond Red Mesa, outside authorities might intervene. The plan required courage and skill. Elias would pilot his old spacecraft again, something he had avoided for years. Tala would guide him using star routes known only to her tribe, allowing them to avoid detection while transmitting evidence. Preparing the ship was emotional for Elias. Dust covered its surface, and old memories lived in every corner. Tala helped quietly, offering support without pushing him too hard. She understood that returning to space meant facing past pain. When the ship finally lifted into the sky, Elias felt nervous but focused. The desert grew smaller beneath them, and for a moment he wondered if he had made the right decision. Tala sat beside him, calm and steady, watching the stars like old friends guiding their path. They flew low at first, avoiding corporate sensors. Tala directed him through narrow atmospheric corridors, trusting ancient star navigation methods rather than relying completely on technology. Elias admired her confidence. She moved between tradition and science with natural balance. Meanwhile, the community on the ground continued their efforts. Ranchers slowed corporate progress using peaceful resistance, guiding wildlife into protected areas and documenting environmental damage carefully. Their actions forced mining teams to pause repeatedly, buying valuable time. In orbit, Elias and Tala transmitted collected data to independent networks across nearby systems. Images of damaged ecosystems, hidden weapons on survey drones, and illegal extraction plans spread quickly. Within hours, responses arrived from journalists, regulators, and activist groups. The story of Red Mesa began reaching far beyond the planet. The corporation reacted quickly. Several enforcement drones launched toward Elias's ship, attempting to block transmissions. Elias felt adrenaline return as he maneuvered through space, using old skills he thought he had forgotten. Tala remained calm, helping him predict drone movements using both observation and instinct. Instead of attacking, they used clever maneuvers to avoid capture. Elias guided the ship through an asteroid field where larger machines struggled to follow. Together they completed the final transmission before returning toward Red Mesa. Back on the surface, tension reached its peak. Corporate leaders demanded that settlers leave immediately, claiming they interfered with legal operations. But the community stood united. They refused to move, supported by growing attention from outside observers. When Elias and Tala returned, news arrived that regulatory authorities were sending investigators. The corporation's actions were now under review. Mining operations slowed, and enforcement drones retreated slightly, waiting for new orders. Days passed slowly as everyone waited for the outcome. Finally, official ships arrived carrying neutral inspectors. After reviewing evidence and speaking with settlers, they declared Red Mesa a protected ecological zone. Large-scale mining would be suspended until further investigation. Relief spread across the community. Some people cried openly, while others simply sat quietly, letting tension fade. Tala stood beside Elias, watching the sky where corporate ships began leaving one by one. Life on the ranch slowly returned to a peaceful rhythm. The machines disappeared, and wildlife returned to old paths. The desert felt alive again, breathing freely under the twin suns. The people who once called her too wild now respected her wisdom and courage. She found a place where she could be herself without losing freedom. Elias changed too. The loneliness that once defined him vanished completely. Working alongside Tala reminded him that trust and connection were stronger than fear. He began teaching younger settlers how to care for animals and maintain equipment, sharing knowledge he once kept to himself. One evening, as the sun set and painted the sky in warm colors, Tala rode the star-bred horse across the dunes. Her movements were graceful and confident, a symbol of balance between strength and peace. Elias watched from the ranch fence, feeling proud but also grateful. He remembered the day he had simply handed her the reins without knowing what would happen. That small act had changed not only her life but his own and the future of Red Mesa. As the stars appeared one by one, the ranch felt calm and full of quiet hope. Tala returned from her ride, the horse walking gently beside her. She stopped near Elias, and for a moment they stood together in silence, looking at the land they had protected. The wind moved softly across the desert, carrying stories of courage and kindness. Red Mesa remained free not because of power or force, but because people chose unity and understanding. And under the endless sky, the legend of the lonely rancher and the Apache girl who rode like the wind began to spread across frontier worlds, a reminder that even in a galaxy filled with technology, simple trust and respect could still change everything.